What is up, guys, and welcome to my first Q&A ever. This is something that I've always weirdly wanted to do. I've always enjoyed watching Q&A videos, so this is something that I've always kind of wanted to do, and I figured I was gonna give it a shot. And honestly, I got a really great response. I got a lot of questions. I think I'm gonna be able to answer most of them this time, which is pretty awesome, and makes me happy that I'm able to do that. But yeah, I mean, I posted on my Instagram that I was going to be doing this video, which, by the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you do that so you know when stuff like this is happening if you have any questions. But on that note, let's just jump into the questions. So first up we have from JDM Fishing. What is the best thing you've seen while there other than the auroras? And what's been the biggest surprise that Antarctica has shown you? The best thing. I mean, to be completely honest, Antarctica is definitely like the most beautiful place that I've ever been in the world. I mean, it is absolutely stunning here. And I think the second best thing aside from the auroras here at the South Pole has been just the mountains and the wilderness and the landscape of McMurdo and the surrounding area. I was lucky enough to be able to fly over some of those mountains, whether it was on the way to the pole or out to a fuel cache and stuff, or in a helicopter, and just, it's so untouched, and it's just, it adds to the level of awesomeness to think about the fact that there's so many of these mountains that people have probably never been on top of. Like a human being has never set foot on some of those mountains, which is just absolutely incredible. And standing there and being able to look at it and take it all in, and the most beautiful sunsets and stuff is really incredible. As far as the biggest surprise that Antarctica has shown me, it's probably my ability to handle cold. I've always done pretty well with cold. I mean, I was born in Sweden and I grew up in Ohio, so I definitely have experienced quite a bit of cold weather, but you know, it's nothing quite like, you know, negative 65 degrees, which it is right now, ambient. And the funny thing is, that's actually considered a warm day. I went outside and it was a bit windy, and that'll get you, but like aside from that, it felt warm. And that's bizarre. You really weirdly get used to it. Like most people here, there are some people that still hate the cold regardless of what temperature it is, but for the most part, it's pretty okay. And you just adjust to it, and it's pretty insane how quickly you adjust. I think that was a big shocker for me. But yeah, thank you for your question. And number 2, from Beam Me Up Bryant. You must get some incredible storms. What are they like? And are there any emperor penguins in your area? So as far as storms go, we definitely do get some pretty cool storms. I actually showed one in the beginning of my June review video.
Oh my goodness.
Which was pretty neat. I went outside and yeah, kind of showed the wind and what the weather looked like then. But for the most part, the bigger storms actually happen at McMurdo. You know, it's right by the coast, so they get a lot more wind, a lot more gusts and stuff, but we still get our fair share here. You know, you'll see winds up to 20, 25 knots. And that's pretty brutal, especially when it's, you know, negative 70, 80, 90 degrees outside. That wind, I mean, it bites right through your clothes, and you can definitely feel it. So we definitely do get some good storms. As far as emperor penguins go, we do not have any here at the South Pole. Unfortunately, there is actually nothing that lives here at the South Pole. There might be some microorganisms and such. I'm not quite sure. I think there is, but that's outside of my area of knowledge. But as far as like large organisms like birds and mammals and such, we have nothing. So once again, that is also more of a McMurdo thing. So yeah, thank you for that question. And number 3, from I Am Raven. How often do you interact with other camps, if at all? Is there a common meetup spot, or do the facilities tend to stay to themselves due to distance or travel conditions? Aside from one exception, there is not really any meetup spots really on the continent anywhere, as far as I can tell, as far as I know. The one exception that I really know of is actually McMurdo and Scott Base. Those two stations are just like a couple miles from each other, really short, so you can literally walk between the two, and the people, the Kiwis, actually come to McMurdo for, you know, enjoying like the bars and such that we have. And Thursday night at Scott Base is American night, so like Americans are allowed to come over from McMurdo to enjoy their bar and their store and such. Aside from that, there isn't really much meeting up. You have the occasional transit type stuff, for example, South Pole here being in the middle. KBA is the small fixed wing airline company from Canada that flies for a lot of the stations down here in Antarctica. And so they come down from Canada, come down from South America through here, and Then from here, they jump to other stations. But aside from that whole McMurdo-Scott based relationship, there isn't really a meetup spot. And for the most part, the stations do not really interact. Aside from certain, continent-wide things like Midwinter, or this past weekend was the Antarctic Winter International Film Festival. But that's something I'm going to talk about more in next week's video. So yeah. All right, number 4 is from Yasmin Tatilde. Tatilde? I really hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. But my question is, does it get boring staying there that long? It can. It definitely can. Fortunately, there's a lot of stuff going on. Pretty much every single day there's some sort of activity going on, whether it be board games or watching movies or something. So there's always something you can involve yourself with, and I think a lot of the people that come down here, they tend to have some sort of personal project that they're working on. For example, one of our grantees is working on his master's. I'm doing all these videos and going out and photographing all the time. Some people learn languages, some people just spend a lot of time reading books. So you find the thing that drives you. For a lot of people, it is doing something new or creating something. And I think that's really important to keep yourself excited, and you just have to do things that make you happy. So if you're really introverted and like being in your own space, then you hang out in your own room and everything's good. But if you are more interested in being out and about, then there's plenty of social activities as well. So, but yeah, I will also admit that there are times where I'm like, man, I wish I could just like go somewhere. So yeah, you can definitely get bored, but there are a lot of ways to kind of push the boredom away. All right, thank you so much for that. And now I figured maybe I could jump into somewhat of a speed round. There are some questions that are a little bit quicker to answer, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. First is from Hand Luggage Only. That sky, do you ever get a sore neck from looking up at so much at the beauty? Yes. 2, from BK Cummings 13. How bad is it to cross the Drake Passage? I actually do not know. So to get to the South Pole in McMurdo, we actually fly, whereas to Palmer Station, you'd have to cross by boat. So they know. I hear it can be really rough, and I hear if you get really lucky, it can be really good. 3 is from Tigano. Could you ever run out of snacks? Have been worried on your behalf all season. I think I'm gonna be all right. 4, from Emmy Sue. Is it true that the Earth is flat and Antarctica is really a thick, high wall that surrounds the Earth that keeps us from falling over the edge? All right, and that is that. So I have a few more questions that are a little bit less quick, so get back into that. And the first is with Megan Marie. What do you do there and how can I get there? So I have worked a couple different jobs. So I worked in the fuels department as a fuels operator when I was at McMurdo, and here I do supply and logistics. I have made a video about what I do at McMurdo. I have not made one about here yet. However, that is something I will be doing coming up in the next month, maybe 2, I don't know. I will get to it. But yeah, so I do supply and logistics, and it's all kinds of stuff. And how can you get here? Apply for a job. There are tons of things to do down here. Everything from being an electrician to washing dishes to cooking food to operating fuel to working an admin type role in an office. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do down here. So apply for a job. And bouncing off that question actually is the next one from Chambers Stan. Is it possible for a 72-year-old retired math professor to visit Antarctica? Yes, it is entirely possible. Once again, you gotta find out what kind of jobs you are looking for. I'll actually post the main link down to the USAP website where you get all the links to the different contractors that offer jobs down here. But honestly, you just gotta search, search and see what kind of stuff they're doing down here that you are qualified for, and apply. And you never know. Next thing you know, you might be on a C-17 on your way to McMurdo. So you never know until you try. And then your second question, any photos of the Southern Cross? I'm sure it's in some of my photos. I don't have any specific close-up photos, and I might have missed the window for that, unfortunately, with the sun coming back now, so sorry. All right, next question is from My Scenic Travels. Do you find it hard to realize when it's night or day when it's always dark? And did it take long for your body to get used to the darkness? I don't really struggle with it, to be completely honest with you. I mean, you are constantly inside for the most part, unless you go outside for your job or if you go out to take pictures like I do. You kind of just forget what's going on outside. You're locked in here, and because we have the windows covers up, you can't even really tell that it's dark outside. It's kind of bizarre, and maybe it's not the best thing for everybody. But yeah, for the most part, I can't really tell. You really get used to just operating off the clock, and the work schedule and the internet schedule is a really big part of like sleep and things like that. So yeah, I mean, honestly, for the most part, it didn't really bother me. The darkness itself really excites me because it means that the sky is going to be amazing like it is. So it really didn't take me too long. Like I said, I adjusted pretty quickly, and I actually mostly enjoy it. And you also said you're still waiting for your answers to your question from a while ago. Yes, I was planning on doing a Q&A a long time ago, and I was going to answer your question in it, but I'm finally doing it. So, question 2 from my scenic travels. What happens if there's an emergency, either medical, life critical, or a fire or something devastating? So, man, there's all kinds of things that have been planned for all different levels of emergencies. So as far as something medical goes, if it's pretty minor, we have, 2 medical professionals here on staff, and we have other people with medical training. For example, we have an EMT and such. So we have people to handle things like if someone were to maybe break a bone or something like that. However, if something way more tragic were to happen, something, as you said, life critical, it's a big deal. It becomes a big problem because getting down here is really difficult, if not near impossible. There has been one midwinter evacuation ever for medical reasons. It happened in 2016, and they flew in pretty much right after midwinter. And I mean, it was a heck of an ordeal. And as far as I know, I think it took about 3 weeks just to get the logistics going, and then the right weather, and then actually getting an airplane down here. And it was, it required re-grooming the runway because, during the winter we don't actually keep the runway flat and ready to go because there's no planes coming in. So a life-critical emergency is a huge deal. And that is one of the reasons that we go through so much medical testing to come down here, especially for the winter. I mean, we're doing everything from dental checks to eye exams to chest x-rays and ultrasounds, and like we're going through all this medical stuff just to make sure that we are healthy and that hopefully nothing will happen to us down here, at least in a medical sense. Trauma obviously is always a possibility, and we have a lot of safety things that we consider to make sure that doesn't happen. Other things like a fire or something like that, so the whole station, everyone on station is actually divided into an emergency response team. So we have 4 different teams. Team 1 being the first responders, so they're the ones that show up on scene if there's like some sort of emergency that happens. Team 2 is the fire brigade, and they actually go through fire training in Colorado before we come down to the ice. And then every single week there's more training. Team 3 is logistics, and basically they just get anything that is needed. For example, in an MCI, they'll make sure that there is enough medical supplies and stuff, and they'll help out the docs and whoever else is doing something, or if they need fans for a room that was on fire or something like that, they'll make sure to get those things. And lastly, Team 4 is the team that I am on, which is the medical trauma team. So we are the ones that actually assist the doctor and the PA that are down here in the case of an emergency. And every single one of the teams has a training every single week. So the fire brigade, they're running drills like about like dragging people out of rooms and doing things in their bunker gear. The logistics team is doing things like checking out all the different areas and like learning where everything is. And then Team 4, we're learning, constantly learning new medical procedures and stuff that we might need to use in an absolutely horrible situation, like how to draw blood or how to take an X-ray, or we did ultrasound last week, and we'll do lectures about things like cold weather injuries, so frostbite and hypothermia and stuff like that. So yeah, if a fire were to break out, then yeah, all the teams would respond in their appropriate roles, and we always have people that are on call. And yeah, hopefully that never happens. And if things really hit the fan, like you saw in my last week's video, that was the 5 interesting facts. We do have the B pod is our emergency pod, which is pretty self-sustainable. So yeah, hopefully nothing like that will ever happen, but we definitely do get prepared as well as possible in case it were to. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Thank you so much. And then moving on to last but not least, from the Vacay Girl. Such a gorgeous shot. Thank you very much. My question is, what was the biggest you learned from your experience there? Man, that's a tough question because you learn a lot. Truly, you learn so much. And it's anything from smaller things like You know, for example, there was the astronomy class in the beginning of the winter, and I learned all kinds of stuff about that. Or later in the season, my buddy and I are going to be teaching a wine class, so you can learn those kinds of things. Or there's a group that unicycles, so you can learn how to unicycle. So there's those kinds of things that you can like learn. But I think for me, you really learn about yourself. Wow, we really have it nice here, and the crew is amazing, and the people here are incredible. There are definitely hard aspects to wintering at the South Pole. You know, being away from friends and family and loved ones, and missing things, and being isolated, and spending frankly, a lot of time on your own. You learn a lot about yourself. You get a lot of time to like think. I think that's really important. I feel that through my last winter, and actually even more so this winter, I feel that I've grown as a person, internally and emotionally, and all these different things, and that's been really great. And it's really awesome to have people here surrounding you that, you know, help you achieve those things, and then also having fantastic people back in the real world that will encourage you and support you throughout the whole winter. So yeah, I think the biggest thing was just learning stuff about myself. So I hope that's a good answer. Thank you, Vacay Girl. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that is all the questions, as far as at least at the time that I took screenshots of all the questions. Like I said, I really enjoyed this. I think it's really great to actually interact. That's why, I mean, I respond to pretty much every single thing in the comments, because I just love talking to all of you guys that watch my videos, and it's super fun. So I want to keep doing, I would love to do another one of these. If you're interested, let me know. Let me know down below. And also, I will probably then be posting once again on my Instagram when I'm doing one, so you know when to ask questions. And I'll probably even do it on Twitter this time as well. So if you want to follow me on both of those accounts, then that would be perfect, and you'll know when the next Q&A video will be. But yeah, thank you so much. Once again, I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you know what to do. Go down below and do the things: the liking, the subscribing, the sharing, the commenting, the bell hitting, you know the drill. So once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.